Hi, guys. Welcome to Women Radio. I'm Amy. Tonight on the Highly Strange Days podcast, we are thrilled to welcome Amber from Into the Weeds podcast. Amber hails from Oklahoma, where she grew up surrounded by the mystique of the Comanche tribes in a military town. After a back injury, ended her army career, she shifted her focus to children's and youth ministries, drawing on her background in elementary education and children's ministries. But let me tell you, Amber's life has been anything but ordinary. Raised in a household where wizardry was practiced, she has been exposed to some truly strange occurrences. Following her father's tragic unaliving at his own hands in her own home and found by her son, her family has been plagued by inexplicable events, vivid dreams, eerie encounters, and facing a mysterious figure in a hotel room before her father's funeral are just the beginning. And when she moved to Missouri, the paranormal activity escalated with physical pushes and objects disappearing from her back deck at night. These unsettling experiences have truly shaped Amber's reality. Join us as we delve into Amber's fascinating story on the Highly Strange Days podcast. And as an added bonus, we have Amber's daughter, Alora Danning. Just kidding, but her name is Alora. Joining us. I had to. Get ready for a wild paranormal joyride on the Highly Strange Days podcast on the Parawomen Radio Network. While we wait for all our friends to roll in, I'm going to roll some credits. Special shout out to my replay crew. We're going to the haunted Midwest, y'all. Guys, welcome to Parawomen Radio. I'm Amy.
Wish that the night would swallow this day, and the clouds wouldn't steal the moon from me. But the rain starts to fall, and the moon fades away. This wound is too deep to heal now. Where is the moon hanging low amidst that wonderful orange glow, smiling at me straight through the rain? That old comfort I know keeps calling me. There is the moon hanging low. I see that wonderful orange glow, smiling at me straight through the rain. That old comfort I know keeps calling me.
Happy Sunday, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I thought I was going to have my co-host, Shannon, but something must be keeping her. So we're just going to go ahead and do the show. I know I have the ladies in the wings, so I'm going to go ahead and just before I call them on, if we could just start that algorithm dance party that you know I like to do. Just start warming up your fingers and dancing them up to the hearts and thumbs up button. Helps us dance out into the algorithm party out there. Bring some more interesting folks back to the party. It's just a free way to help me out, and it's really, really appreciated. Today, we're coming to you on Facebook. Hi, Facebook. And I think I see somebody over on Facebook. I can't see Facebook's chat in my StreamYard, but I just saw someone gave me a thumbs up over there. So we're over on Facebook and we're on YouTube, and we're also, I'm trying something new, and I have an extra YouTube channel called Feel Good University, and I'm streaming over there because we do things a little bit different over there. Don't talk about true crime over there, just feel good stuff and spiritual stuff and all that good stuff. So we are over on 2 YouTube channels and 1 Facebook today. And I would like to welcome to the show Amber and Alora. Hi, ladies.
Hi. How's it going?
How are you two doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, really good. Thank you. I mean, I've had a migraine all day, but
I woke up 30 minutes before we were supposed to do this.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I suffer
It's
from
fine.
migraines too, so I can sympathize with that. Hold on. I'm trying to find my, I can't hear you very well. I don't have my speaker. Anyway. Okay. So migraines, what do you do for your migraines?
So for a long time, they really didn't do much for me except for give me butalbital and sumatriptan. But then when I moved from Florida to Missouri, which I think is kind of ironic, I got better care. And so I started getting Botox, and I do 1 monthly shot of Emgality. And then when I have a bad one, I either take Nurtec or sumatriptan. So
Lots of drugs, but just mostly sitting in pain and dealing with it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then even the drugs, when I take the drugs, I can still feel the migraine. You probably understand this too, migraine people, but you feel the migraine behind the drugs. Like, it's there. As soon as the drugs are gone, it'll be back any second.
Yeah, I ended up having to actually start using cannabis because I couldn't keep anything down. I mean, I was in bed for 6 years, and it was really bad.
I lost like 80 pounds, and I couldn't eat anything either, and the cannabis helps me, hence the Highly Strange Days podcast. So
definitely into the weeds.
Yes. If you get it, you get it.
Yes ma'am.
So and it's really helped me actually with my anxiety quite a bit, because I have horrible anxiety from them. Not just from them.
I have anxiety. I have anxiety from PTSD, but that's about it.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit about your history. So you are a retired Army vet, right?
No, I am I was medically discharged, so I got a medical board. I was only in for a year in the Army.
Sorry, I said it wrong.
No, you're fine.
She just wants to clarify that she wasn't in the Army.
No,
for
I
a long
appreciate
time
that. I appreciate that.
Don't want to be like a poser.
Yeah. And
I'm decorated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
no,
I was only in a year. But when I was in the Army, I did like drug testing and in processing and out processing soldiers.
Narc. No, I'm sorry.
And just making sure everybody had a bed and everything that they needed. And then so that's what I did in the Army.
And you hurt your back?
Yeah, I fell 15 feet in training in almost my 7th week of training. And I fell 15 feet from a cargo net, broke my back in 3 places, messed up my neck. And so that's why I have the migraines, because of I have bulging discs that go in towards the spine. And they can't do surgery because it's not recommended, I guess. And so I'm basically just kind of
dealing with it.
Dealing with it.
Back surgery is not. I had back surgery, and if I could do it over again, I would. I would try to wait because now I feel like I forever have this issue that maybe I could have fixed. I don't know.
Yeah,
Totally
my husband had 4 back surgeries. He got rear-ended by a dump truck on the highway going off of the highway on a exit, and he
messed him up.
Yeah, he went from being Superman to being on a walker for quite a while.
Oh yeah, they both had to use canes cans and walkers whenever I was a child. It was kind of like I thought it was like normal.
Really, that would have been something.
Actually, it's kind of funny. I actually just told her this maybe like a month ago for like the first time. It just randomly popped up. But I remember one time I went somewhere with my friend and her mom. And after like a little bit, like I was like, oh, do you need to sit down? Like to her mom, like making sure that she was okay and that she was able to do stuff. She's like, how old do you think I am? I was like, what? I just thought that like your parents always had to sit down. They're always in pain. They always had to take loads and loads of medication. I just thought it was normal. I was like, oh, guess it's not.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was normal for you.
Normal for me, but I didn't realize it was going to offend the poor lady. Like, what am I, ancient?
Yeah.
I'm not saying nothing.
People are
And I
also
didn't
very
even
quick
think
to
about
think
it.
that you are judging what they look like or how old they are in our culture, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Most definitely. Yeah, and the reason I was talking about my husband is because he had 2 back surgeries at a leading place called the Laser Spine Institute of Tampa. And it's this high-tech facility, and he actually got messed up from them and had to be flown to the VA in Miami to get fixed. So, back
Messed him up real
surgeries.
bad.
Yeah, back surgeries can hurt you.
Didn't he wake up in the middle of his procedure too?
He did.
And he started telling them what to do. He was like, no, you move it there, you do that.
Did he really? Because that was my biggest fear.
He
because
did.
I woke up during a colonoscopy and I was like, I'm really afraid I'm going to wake up during this surgery. And they're like, oh, no. Now you're telling me this. I'm so glad I didn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to share when I was 4, I had open heart surgery and I woke up during the surgery. I remember it.
Oh, what happens when you wake up during a surgery? Well, I know what happens because I heard him talking. He was saying, roll her over. And I said, do you want me to roll over? And he says, yes, put her down. And then later I was like, did I wake up? And he's like, yes. But what happens during open heart surgery? Do you feel it?
No, I didn't feel it. I don't remember feeling it. I do remember them being surprised. I remember them looking over me and they're like, oh, hello. And then they just kept their calm. And then immediately I was back to sleep. But I remember the shocked look on their faces. And I don't know what. Yeah. And I don't know what stage they were in or what. So.
I think it's a certain kind of person that this happens to. It's like, I read it's something about, which is weird enough. It's like our skin type. Do you have really soft skin? Is your skin really soft?
Yeah, I would say so. And I've also heard that redheads react differently to medications and pain.
I've heard that too.
And I'm a redhead, so it doesn't look
I'm
like
not
it.
really
but
a redhead. I was only a fake redhead for a while. So
fake redhead.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, so now I have to go back to you had open heart surgery when you were 2 years old.
When I was 4, I was born with a hole in my heart. So they didn't find it actually until I was 4, and my mom and my uncle have had it as well. My mom has passed away from it, and then my uncle has it. And so it's just something genetic.
Do you think that because it seems like the paranormal stuff is genetic too? Do you think that any of this heart stuff has to do with the paranormal stuff? Just off, a weird question. Probably
No,
not.
because
so.
yeah, no, because it's like I said, genetic. But I would definitely say that I am a medical anomaly.
She definitely is.
And even my doctor the other day was like, "Wow, you know, you should probably be studied."
No, seriously, I'm surprised they haven't studied you or done something.
I
Or
know.
done, or even like done like one of like the crazy like trials. Like I don't know what I can even say on YouTube, but the K trials that they do and stuff.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? If anyone knows what I'm
K
saying, like a little
trials?
special
Oh,
K. I don't,
the ultra.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I was just gonna say, not that she necessarily, needs to do. I was just saying, like, I'm just surprised they haven't like tried to recruit her for, that sort of
Have there
thing.
been any
Since
men
the
in
VA
black
does it
that
all the
have pulled
time.
up?
No, not yet. But I definitely see a lot of weird things over my house in the sky.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Laura,
It's been a minute.
have you had experienced that strange stuff as well?
Oh, absolutely, definitely, just as much
Absolutely.
as her. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. We even have a couple things that kind of like go together a little bit. So
What's the earliest thing that you remember that happened to her that you were aware of?
happened to my mom or happened to me?
No, it happened to your mom.
Well, honestly, we didn't really think about or talk about the paranormal until after my grandpa passed away.
Mhm.
And then after that, I'd say like I had my own experience with that. I'll talk about it when it's relevant, but yeah, I had my own experience with that whole thing, unfortunately.
So it
And
wasn't anything with you growing up and that you witnessed that she was having. It just all happened when
no,
the dad died. Wow.
although I will say there is one thing, I don't know if it's necessarily paranormal, but it kind of like bleeds into the conversation at large. I don't remember if this is something you spoke about whenever you did your
I didn't.
podcast a while ago, but she had a dream. We have dreams. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anyway, she had a dream when I was a kid, and it was the Bible verse dream.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not even really. I like to throw that out here. I'm kind of like spiritual. I have an appreciation for Christianity. I grew up Christian, but her beliefs are her beliefs, and I'm kind of in between, trying to figure out what I believe.
Mhm.
That being said, I still think this is very interesting. So, but you might remember it a little bit better since it was actually your dream.
Yeah. You were little, and I was pregnant with Charles,
Mhm.
and so you would have been about 4.
And Charles is your
And
mother?
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
Brother, husband, grandfather, great
A lot
grandfather,
of
uncle.
So
Charleses.
he's been coming over and over again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so I was just gonna say, so I was pregnant with my son, and I'm not like a zealot type person that
No, she's fine. Yeah, she's good.
weird things don't happen to me spiritually,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Well, I mean, some things have happened now, but I'm not like a
She's not
zealot.
claiming to be like a prophet or
Yeah,
anything like
nothing
that.
nothing like that.
Yeah,
But it's
no.
still weird. Still weird.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I was sleeping, and in my dream, I kept being told to look up Joel 2:28, I believe it is. And throughout the whole dream, I was just running around trying to find a Bible to look up this verse, and I just kept being told that it was really, really important. And then, so I woke up, and I immediately went to go find that Bible verse, and it talked about your young men seeing visions and dreaming dreams and prophesying and things like that, and your children prophesying and stuff like that.
What did you say the Bible verse is? I could even look it up.
Joel 2:28, I
Joel
believe.
2:28.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the reason why that's relevant is I've had dreams my entire life.
Oh.
Pretty much anyone that has ever passed away. And again, I'm not trying to like act like I'm some psychic or anything.
I don't
Just
I
weird
don't think-
coincidences, maybe.
I don't think anyone
But-
thinks that you guys are zealots or that you think you're experts or anything like that. So we can just lay that all aside.
We just want to clarify so we don't sound like we're making any kind of bold claims.
I know
we
some
are.
things have happened lately that you know you have to feel like you have to clarify, but it's all good here.
Yeah.
Because people can't. I'm not saying that your audience can't, but we've realized, especially within the last few weeks with all the stuff that's gone on, is a lot of people can't read between the lines. You have to be very
so
literal.
I get it. Okay,
Very literal.
It's good.
But just for context, I just looked up the Bible verse, and this is what it is. Joel 2:28 The NIV version says, and afterward I will pour my spirit and afterward I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions. So, we've had a lot of dreams. We've had a lot of dreams. And so we just thought, wow, that being the first dream to kick it all off. And then, the stuff with our grandpa and, other things that have happened. It's like, wow.
So how much later was it after the dream that your grandfather passed away?
Like 5-6 years later.
Yeah, so I was pregnant with Charles, and my dad died when Charles was 4.
And I was 9. So
okay. Yeah. And so what happened with that?
Do you want me to just say it, or with the
go ahead.
With my grandpa passing away?
Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, I had said that he had done it at his own hands, and and if you don't want to talk about that too much, and that your son, was it your 4-year-old son?
That's fine.
Yeah.
We're fine, by the way. Like we're not sensitive to really talk about it. Yeah. We can talk about every little detail now. Yeah. Although, for a really long time it was really hard. I actually got. Well, I mean, I guess they didn't put it on my record, but I've been told by multiple therapists, which I guess they can't technically diagnose, but I've been told that I have PTSD several times.
Oh, you do, yeah.
It was really bad. But I can say it from my perspective, since I was actually awake while the whole thing happened. But
how old were you when it happened?
I was 9 years old. It happened in 2010, so it was a little bit before my 10th birthday. I was born in 2000.
See,
so
Shannon, I heard the same thing happened with her father, and so just so much, and so many similar. I just wish she was here, but okay, go ahead.
Oh darn, that sucks. Yeah, we could have related, but hey, we understand she's got our stuff to do.
Too.
Yeah, but really, what happened with it? Not to like recount the whole thing, but I'll just tell you what I specifically remember. So that night I was sitting downstairs, and I normally had to go to bed like at some time. I don't remember. I had some sort of a bedtime, and I felt like I was super cool because I was sitting and I was watching The Parent Trap, and I was just like doing my own thing by myself, and I stayed up till like 11 o'clock at night or something like that. I was like, what a badass over here. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and I still remember I had this cute little like this little pink nightgown kind of thing on. It was like silk, and it had like little flowers on it, and I remember, and I just like, I felt like a little princess, and I was like, and I remember there was like some kind of, I think there's some kind of like fashion montage or something in that, and I remember like the mom's like a fashion designer, so it's like, oh, I'm like super cool, I'm like high fashion. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it was cute, but anyway, so I go upstairs a little bit late, and I'm laying down and I'm just sleeping, and our neighbors are having a party next door. So they're super, super loud. They're getting drunk as hell. And, all of a sudden I start to hear fireworks go off, or I hear one firework go off. I was like, huh. It's like, I guess they're shooting off fireworks, whatever. But then it stopped. And, the next morning, my dad rushed into my room. He's like, hey, it was a Sunday morning. The next morning. So, being a Christian family, we used to never, ever, ever miss church unless we were throwing up. That was the rule. We couldn't miss church unless we were throwing up. We ended up missing church that morning. But so he was like, hey, we got to go. We got to go real quick. And I kept trying to, he took us down the stairs, and he would not let me go back up the stairs. I was like, well, I got this and I got that. I want to do this. He's like, no, you're sitting down on that freaking couch. I guess he didn't curse back then, but he's like, you're going to sit down on that couch, and you're not moving a muscle. And I was like, okay. And so my little brother, I mean, like, you couldn't really even tell that anything was wrong, really. I mean, he was just kind of acting normal, which, like, I'm so thankful for. But yeah, so I remember I had to throw on my tennis shoes, and I was like, I don't want to wear my tennis shoes with this dress. Why would I ever want to wear these tennis shoes with this dress? I was giving Dad hell. And then he rushed us into the car, which the cops had never seen anything like that before. Normally in these sorts of scenarios, people just kind of call the cops and things happen, and they keep their family within the home. He did not want us to see that. So because of that, it looked a little sus. We ended up driving to Denny's, and I was like really confused. I was like, why the hell, and a part of the PTSD that I had for a really long time, but it's gotten better. I couldn't hear fireworks for years. The fourth was fine. I was good. Although there were a couple times I ended up having to drive my friend because he decided to be the one that drank. But yeah, there were a couple times while I was driving where something would go off and I freaked out a little bit. But I also couldn't watch Parent Trap for the longest time. And I couldn't go to Denny's for the longest time. Denny's freaked me out. I would cry and cry and cry. And then a few years later with the youth group, we ended up having to go back to that specific Denny's. And I was mad. I was mad for like a really long time. I was like, please don't make me go in here. But then eventually I got over it. But anyway, we stop at Denny's and we're there for a little bit. And my dad's like, listen, I kind of got to go. And my dad, he never lies. He's like not a liar. He's just really straight up and honest with you. But I think that is like the one time that I remember him lying to my mom and saying, you know, everything's okay. You know, what did he say? That grandpa had just slept with a like. He just said there was an incident with your father. I don't remember what it was. He said
there was an incident with my dad, and he needed to have a stern talk with him.
Yeah.
An incident?
So he said that.
Yeah,
an incident. He didn't really want to tell us exactly what happened.
Say like, what is the incident?
Well, we tried, I think, a little bit, but
yeah, he just didn't want to, you know, and so I think she knew something was wrong.
At the Denny's, and he's saying, I gotta go. Yeah. Oh, that's
yeah. So he just dropped us off. He's like, listen, I gotta go take care of this. He didn't say anything to me, so I don't know, or I don't remember.
By the way, he also packed our suitcases.
Oh yeah, he packed our suitcases. I totally forgot about that.
And we had suitcases with us at Denny's.
I totally forgot about that.
Wait, okay, wait a minute. Where were you guys going to go with your suitcases at Denny's?
Again, we didn't know, she knew something was wrong, but she didn't know how wrong.
Didn't know, what to do with that.
And then I'm just like a kid. I'm just kind of going with the flow, and Charles is acting totally normal. But yeah, so we're sitting there for a little bit, and all of a sudden the cops walk in, and they pull up to our table, and they ask to speak with us. And I'm like, okay, that's really weird. Again, just a kid. They lead us out to the parking lot, and they take my mom in one car, and they take my brother and I in another car, and they put us in the back of the car. And there was very little leg room, even as someone who was 9 years old. I remember that. I thought I was being taken away from my parents. I thought that I was being literally ripped away from them. My brother and I were crying super hard. And I feel so bad for my brother because he had the additional trauma from the morning, but he didn't even understand. I think he didn't know what had happened for another couple years. He just saw that Papa was messy. Papa was sick. Papa looked, he made some kind of claim. I don't remember what it was.
He made a comment. Grandma had asked while we were in the car on the way to her house after we found out everything. He said,
Grandma from the other side, my paternal grandmother.
Yeah. She asked if there would be an open casket. I don't even know why she would say that, or maybe you did. I don't know.
Maybe I probably said it. I don't think she did, but I didn't know. I didn't know for a couple days what happened. They didn't, break the news to Charles because he was just so young. It really wasn't something that was worth processing until he was a little bit older. But I was old enough to where I kind of understood what was happening a little bit, and they had to tell me. And I remember sitting on Grandma's couch, and like I felt like my stomach sink. And that was the first time I'd ever felt that phenomenon that like when you hurt so bad, it just falls to the pit of your stomach. But
Charles had made a comment while we were in the car that he was too messy. They wouldn't.
Too messy, something like that. Yeah. But so we get taken away by the cops, and we go to the police station, and I'm with this lady, and she thought that I don't want to say she thought I was stupid, but she thinks that 9-year-olds can't like think like a normal person. And I guess I hate to say it, but some of the kids I've met recently are dumb. So I get it.
How many years? How old are you now? Or if you don't,
I'm 23, about to be 24. So this was in 2010. So this would have been 14 years ago. Yeah, 14 years ago. February 7th, 2010.
So they should have been. I mean, that was back when they started talking to children like they were normal. People.
Yeah, which again, like she wasn't like rude or anything. She just like, for instance, she wanted to take us into a special room that had like a couple toys that we could play with. And I could not play with toys. I was just sitting there. I was like jaded, and I knew something was wrong because I knew, well, I'll tell you that in a second. So anyway, we go into this little surveillance room, and she goes to grab the keys from the surveillance room, and she thinks I'm an idiot because I look up at the surveillance thing and I see my mom in an interrogation room And it's very clearly an interrogation room. Like I had seen, movies before and TV shows before. Like I was like, okay. And then I just kind of decided I was going to play like a dumb kid because she wasn't going to answer any of my damn questions. And I was like, no, just tell me what's wrong. Just tell me what's wrong. And she goes, well, your grandpa's sick, right? And I said, yeah. She goes, oh, it's just that. Why the hell would you tell me that? Clearly, I would know after that he died. Clearly, I didn't know how he died. But like, why would you tell like a little girl like she wasn't going to understand what you're talking about? Like, okay. And that's when I started like rocking back and forth.
A 9-year-old can understand things.
Yeah.
What were they telling you, Amber?
So basically, they just came out and asked what happened. And I told them what Alora said, and then they basically made the remarks, it's highly unusual that somebody would take their family outside of the house when something like this happened.
That's nothing but unusual, though.
And yeah, no doubt. And so they had just never seen that before, and so they were very curious about that. So they asked questions about that, and then eventually they said, okay, well, we just have to tell you that your dad's dead. And I said, okay, I figured that. And I said, was it by his own hand? And they said, yes. And then, so we just talked about what was going on in his life. And I barely knew anything because he had only been there for like a week or two.
Yeah, he'd only been back for a couple weeks. And it was just, he lived with us on and off, but in total, he probably only lived with us for like a month, between all the times he stayed.
Yeah.
How soon after his passing did the paranormal activity begin?
Immediately.
Before he passed.
Before he passed.
What were some of the first things that started happening?
So you want to talk about the house?
So my husband and I had decided to go to college, and he was actually, we owned our own procurement business, getting water for disaster reliefs and things like that, like Hurricane Katrina. And I mean, that happened before, but that's the kind of stuff that we did.
Yeah.
And so we had decided that we wanted to both go to college. He wanted to go for preaching, and I wanted to go for children's ministry. And so we rented a house that was only a few blocks from the college, and it was right behind a graveyard, which...
I have things to say about that graveyard later.
Yeah.
Miss Ingy, you can go.
What were you
I'm sorry.
thinking?
We were... It was, I mean, there was one street between us and the graveyard.
It wasn't like in the direct background.
Yeah. So,
Whoops.
We needed a place. Yeah,
of course.
so sorry, I hit a button and I heard myself. Go ahead.
You're good.
No, so we needed a place to rent, and it was in the Orlando area, so in Kissimmee. And it's a pretty poppin' place.
Was in Florida. I was.
Oh yeah, we're from
Oklahoma,
Florida, or I'm from
Missouri.
No,
it was it
actually, Orlando area.
Yeah, it happened in Kissimmee, Florida. So
which is the town that Disney's actually in. It's not in Orlando, for the record. We always like to throw that out there.
Yeah,
I'm actually in Florida myself.
Oh, really?
By way of Michigan.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. We lived there for 20 years, maybe.
Yeah, I lived there for. Yeah, a little over.
Why'd you leave?
Just a little. So when we came up here for Christmas one year, I didn't have as many migraines. And and so we decided, hey, maybe we should come up here. So we looked actually for houses everywhere. I mean,
plus our aunt's husband had just passed away, and we figured she probably needs someone a little bit
her
closer.
Aunt.
Or I'm sorry, I don't know why I said our aunt. She's my mom. Her sister-in-law, my aunt, her husband was significantly older than her, and he passed away. So we wanted to make sure she had someone around her too.
Yeah, but we definitely tried to move we looked in Kentucky and Tennessee and Arkansas. Arkansas was actually where I wanted to go because I lived there for a while when I was a teenager, and it's a very beautiful area. So she was actually born in Arkansas. So
Yeah.
I just tell her, say Fayetteville, and they can assume wherever.
Yeah.
So
I tell people Arkansas. They're like,
what
"Ooh."
started happening in the Kissimmee house that you started noticing?
So there was one night.
Real quick,
Yeah.
do you want to talk about the layout of the house and some of the things that were kind of odd about it specifically?
You
about
can
like
talk about that.
well, something that was specifically odd. Sorry, the only reason why I'm saying this is for context, just so they know like the house itself. But inside their bedroom, there was a bathroom. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's a bathroom. And on the outside of the bathroom, there were like one or two different like padlock type things, or not padlock.
Sliding locks.
That's what I meant to say. Sliding locks. There are one or two sliding locks on the outside of the door.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of look like that would be something you would do to keep somebody inside of the bathroom and trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know about that for forever. But there was also this tree, and I don't know if anyone here has watched Poltergeist, and I didn't watch Poltergeist for several years after the fact. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god, that's the tree!" And the tree looked fairly normal from like the outside of the house. We even have like a picture of like my dad standing underneath it, kind of going like that. But from the inside, and I'm not someone who was like scared of like trees or anything. I mean, I was kind of a scaredy cat as a kid, but that's a totally unrelated subject. I put her through hell. But I think that was undiagnosed autism or something like that. But anyway, regardless, yeah. So the tree, though, it would cast like a shadow onto the wall inside of my little brother's room, which is, the room that my grandpa actually ended up passing away in. And yeah, like it just freaked me the hell out. But there's more to be said about it. But I'm sorry. I just wanted to at least talk about the bathroom before you went into the story, before I just forgot about it.
Yeah, no, so one night we had only been there for maybe a week, and all of a sudden we started hearing like really loud noise outside, like a tree was hitting the wall, but there wasn't like a tree there to hit the wall. It wasn't close enough. So we just gathered both of the kids and put them in our bed, and the whole night you could just hear like rumbling and things hitting the wall, but there was nothing there.
And we also it just always had a weird vibe.
It
like
did.
You guys, we never, like I said, we never really talked about the paranormal vibe.
A weird vibe.
Yeah, none of us talked about the paranormal. We didn't really care. I mean, like it's probably something that was in the back of her mind that she believed was possible, but she was very like, they were very, very Christian when I was little. Like my dad's like a born again Christian. He lived quite the life before I was born. So a lot of times like the stereotype is they like go like balls deep into that shit. I'm sorry. I'm on your channel. I don't know what I can say. But anyway, they go head first into that.
I've been beat up by Christianity. I get it.
Yeah. So that's kind of how he was. Or not that he was like an asshole.
Or maybe I should put it that
just...
way. I'm sorry. That was a harsh way to put it.
I feel you.
Yeah, me too.
No, we understand. We're not taking offense to it anyway.
Okay.
But, no, we're cool. We also don't really take offense to really much at all in general, so you can really say anything to us.
No offense, people.
Yeah,
we're not. We're fine. We're sitting here laughing while we're talking about my grandpa and this whole situation. I mean,
that's a good
not that it's funny, but that's just how I kind of like deal with trauma, I guess. I don't know, like the amount of times I've like told people like this story and then just been laughing. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm straight. I'm good. I'm chilling." But yeah, the vibe of the house was just always weird. Never really talked about the paranormal, but they felt like almost unsafe in the house. And I don't really have a lot of. I remember the house, but I don't remember the way it made me feel necessarily. Although there were a couple times where I felt a little freaked out. But yeah, so
yeah, tell them about.
I'm gonna get into what happened with me. This is probably. I've had other paranormal experiences since this, but I'd say this is probably the biggest paranormal experience of my life thus far. Other than
was that all that happened at the house, though? Is that it?
Well, there was something that happened at the house, and I'll tell you what it was real quick. So, like we said, my grandpa was in and out of the house. He was living in Oklahoma or
Alabama?
Texas? Alabama. He was living in Alabama. Okay, I was
with my brother.
Okay, I didn't even know your brother lived in Alabama. I thought he lived in Oklahoma. Yeah. So anyway, he had been living in Alabama.
Oklahoma and Missouri. Where did I get
Oklahoma. she grew up in Oklahoma and
Mhm.
we're living in Missouri right now. So
Okay,
you're
gotcha.
you're getting this right
Yeah.
stuff. It's just we've moved
Yeah.
around a lot. Well, we've mostly stayed in the same area our whole lives, but I've lived, and I'm only 23. I've probably lived in like 11 or 12 houses or houses, apartments, stuff like that. It's crazy. And it all started after this. That's when we
Yeah.
started moving around.
Mhm.
But yeah. So anyway, yeah. So he had been going in and out. I think if I remember correctly, he ended up moving in with us because your brother was afraid that he was going to take his own life in the house whenever we were gone. That's
I
something
didn't
that.
know that at the time.
Oh, you didn't know that
I
at
didn't
all?
know
Did
that at
Dad
the
know
time.
that?
No, I don't
Oh,
think.
your brother just knew that?
Yeah, I think he was
Yeah.
just concerned.
Because I remember him saying it very clearly before he passed away. Because unfortunately, her brother passed away 3 years and 1 day later,
Yeah, and they had the same name.
and they had the same name.
Mhm.
It was very weird, and I predicted that he was going to die on the same day, and he died like a couple hours later, like literally like at night. So like it might have even been like really close to the same day. But anyway,
Mhm.
but yeah, so he had been, you know, back and forth doing kind of his own thing, and so he had only been there for a little bit, but my brother and him had a bunk bed. My brother slept on the top bunk and he slept on the bottom bunk. Sometimes if I was kind of scared or whatever, I would go in and I would just lay on the bottom bunk. So growing up in Florida, and as someone who lives in Florida, you probably know thunderstorms are all the time. They're crazy. Hurricanes, the whole 9 yards. So I was totally I was totally used to it though. Like because I lived in Florida, I wasn't scared of thunderstorms. It was just like a normal thing. I actually kind of liked thunderstorms. But for some weird reason, this one night I got up in the middle of the night and I had this feeling like I needed to go check on my little brother because of the thunderstorm, which again, super weird because I didn't have an issue with it. Was scared of everything, but not thunderstorms for some reason. But anyway, so I walk in there and I can see the tree on the wall and it's like going, you know, crazy. Like the shadow of the tree is like the really scary one. And like I said, it freaked me the hell out for like no reason. But anyway, so I'm looking at it. And then I look on the bottom bunk of the bed. My little brother's asleep on the top bunk. There's a flash of lightning. And when the lightning flashes, I see a shadowy figure on the bed, laying down, smiling back at me.
Oh,
I just got cold chills.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I saw a shadowy figure and normally, like I said before, I'm a total scaredy cat.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you
yes.
the shadowy figure? Like, did he have a hat, or was he just like what was a shadowy figure? Was it like a man?
I remember. All I remember is it was just kind of like.
Was it like kind of like just? Let me show you, because this has been a very popular figure that's been.
Is it the Hat Man, the Benadryl Hat Man, or something?
Yeah, the Hat Man that's been around doing his rounds. This guy.
Oh yeah. So I don't remember. I'm not going to say it wasn't him. I'm not going to say it wasn't him, but I'm also not going to add any details
but there's also
that I don't know for sure.
Kind of, like there's he hangs out in all different kind of.
I would say in the fact that yes, you see a shadow there. I don't remember a hat, so I'm not going to say anything about the hat. But yes, it was kind of like a shadow like that. But when he smiled, it was like not yellow. It was white. So I just saw a white smile, and then as I saw the white smile, I saw that there was like a shadow almost in the form of a body. Yeah, something kind of similar to that, except for instead of seeing his eyes, or maybe I saw his eye. I don't remember.
No,
I'm not going to,
there is somebody out there that when you smile,
oh shit! When I saw, I'm not a scaredy cat anymore. But the second one from the left,
yes, me too.
That was the one that freaked you out too. Yeah. The second one from the left,
that one, yeah.
So
holy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I want to say that's necessarily, again, like I'm not going to tell you it was one thing or another. I remember
was that
when I saw that
creepiness. Okay, gotcha.
Oh yes. And when I have not had a physical reaction like that in years.
I did too.
I've not had a physical reaction to something scaring me in years, but when you popped that out, that scared me. And it was that one that scared me, none of the other stuff.
Yeah.
but yeah, so it was just like just a shadow. Yeah, again, like I don't remember 100% perfectly. Not going to embellish and accidentally say something wrong, but yes, it was just a dark figure, very similar to that. So yes, to anyone at home who's watching, that would be a good frame of reference, though. Whether it was exact or not, that'd be the closest thing I think we could probably get to it. Oh, that's going to haunt me in my nightmares tonight. Okay, so anyway, no, you're fine. You're good. We're straight. We're chilling. No, you're good.
So
it's a good thing to get a visual reference.
He smiled, and then what happened? He smiled.
Right, he smiled, and like I said, I was a very scared child. I would not hesitate to go into my mom and dad's room. Would not hesitate, but for some reason, I just felt I need to go back to my room, lay down, and pretend I never saw anything ever again. And I didn't bring that up to her until after he'd already passed away. Yeah. I don't think I ever mentioned it, which I tell my parents everything. I still tell them everything.
TMI.
I mean, I have ruined their lives with some of the information I've given them, unfortunately. And I regret it deeply now that I'm in a better headspace. But holy moly, I give them way too much information. But anyway, yeah, so I just decided for some reason, I was like, I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to just keep this to myself. And that's very out of character. Very out of character. So I don't know how that happened.
It's not out of character for children, though, that are witnessing this type of thing. So it's not out of character for children per se. But
for me, I went through weird stuff, and I had traumatic events before this that have nothing to do with this, completely, unrelated to the paranormal. I had very, very traumatic events as a child. And I was completely honest about it.
The paranormal, because the paranormal
I think so too.
Off of the trauma.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel traumatized at that point, by the way. Like the trauma that I had been through, I dealt with well. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I had been through a lot of stuff, and it didn't really change the way that I acted. I always told my parents about everything, So
he was scared to death of E.T.
E.T.?
Yes.
Girl, you don't even understand how bad this was. I would make my mom blindfold me while we walked through Blockbuster just because I was afraid I would accidentally see ET. It was bad. Like, I had issues, man. Yeah. I had issues.
It was really bad.
It's embarrassing. You can laugh. It's fine. You can laugh.
No. I was afraid. I always tried to sleep with my mom at night because I've always been afraid of the dark, and so I get that kind of feeling. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I slept with them for the first couple of years of my life until they're like, "We need our own space. Go away." They literally had to force me out, lock the door.
Yeah, my mom would do it. She actually would lock the door, and it's just I have trauma from that.
Oh yeah. Well, she did it after years and years. She did that to me. And
No.
At the point I needed it.
I was only 5 or 6 when she was doing it. So.
Oh. Yeah.
And forced to sleep in a basement for the first time in my life. And I was terrified.
No.
And then my sister
said,
she goes, Amy, last night I saw an old lady rocking in that rocking chair. And it was over for me. Overdone. I was never in that basement alone again.
No. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm sorry that happened.
I still feel awful about I never again would I sleep in a basement.
Oh, we're in our basement right now.
We're in our basement right now.
You're not sleeping in it, thankfully.
No. Although I was promised the entire basement when I moved up here because I moved after they did. I was promised an entire basement. I don't have a basement. No, it's fine. I'm cool with my room.
Okay, so you saw this weird man. What else went down?
That's all that I saw in that house. Personally. But it does kind of connect to a story, potentially connects to a story that my mom might want to share, that happened after he passed away. We had the ashes, and they stayed, I'm not telling your story by the way, but, we had ashes, and he was going through a divorce, or he was at least separated, and maybe they hadn't filed the paperwork for the divorce. His wife was really, really crazy, and he wanted away from her. Like, he hadn't been living with her for quite some time, from what I understand. But yeah, hadn't been living with her for quite some time. But even though they were estranged, when he passed away, she said, "Oh, I want to mix our ashes together." So she gave us this little teeny tiny sack of his ashes that we put in almost it looked like a ring box. And the rest of it went to her. And so we had this little sack of ashes in So we had it at the college, right? Because we had to move after this happened. We had nowhere to go. So they were in college. I got to live on a college campus for a few months as like a 9-year-old because we had nowhere else to go and we had to get out of the
gonna
house.
live in that house.
We were going to live in the house. And I have friends
as a 9-year-old
Yeah.
on a college campus.
Oh, yeah, it was good. And it was a very family friendly college campus.
Mhm.
And I had some friends. Well, I mean, they weren't friends at the time, but I made some friends that lived there themselves, and I had a crush on like one of the guys. This was a good time. It was a good time. It was a good time.
Yes. So,
But we carried the ashes around. Is the only reason why I said that. Like we had it for a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks after he passed. Well, we had to wait for the investigation, the toxicology, all that stuff,
Yeah.
and then yeah, we got his ashes, and we wanted to take him to Oklahoma and bury him in the family cemetery.
Just get rid of him.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had the ashes on the on top of the refrigerator at the college, and that's when we really started. When stuff started happening, so all of us were having dreams of my dad chasing us.
Oh, even real quick, sorry not to interrupt, but our cousin, who is my paternal cousin, he's not related to my mother
Your
biologically.
cousin.
Yeah. Oh, paternal means my father's.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You said our cousin.
Oh, I did say our cousin. Anyway, my cousin, her nephew, but my dad's biological nephew, so not even on her side. He went in with my other grandpa from the other side, and they helped clean some of the stuff out of the room. And which that's something real quick that nobody tells you about taking your own life. They don't send out a cleanup crew. You either have to pay for it, like thousands upon thousands of dollars, or you have to clean it up yourself. My grandpa had what did he have? He had blood disease.
Alpha-1 antitrypsin. No. He had hepatitis.
He had hepatitis
from the army.
He had hepatitis, and my father and my grandfather had to go in there and clean all of that up. My little brother lost all of his toys. You know, they don't talk about that for the record. But there's a reason why I brought that up. What was I just saying? Oh yeah,
they went in about that. But wasn't there a movie about it where they had the girl? Well, no, you had to clean it yourself, but she had a cleanup service for people that did what your grandfather did.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I'm sure, but yeah, I was traumatized for years, so I tried to stay away from all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sunshine cleaners or something like that.
I would probably look into that honestly, because now I'm unaffected and I don't mind watching that sort of thing. But yeah,
one of the famous Amy's is in it. It's really good.
Okay. Yeah, but no one really talks about that. But yeah, so my cousin, he was around my age. He's only 3 years older than me, so he probably would have been like 12 at the time. So he didn't go and actually clean up, everything, but he did go in when it was time to start like cleaning stuff out of the house and like move. And he said that he went up to the wall. Oh, I didn't even mention the actual, because that's extra traumatizing. But okay, real quick before I tell you what happened with Phil. I was in bed. As I said, I heard fireworks go off, which I later found out were not fireworks. He was in the room next to me about a week before. Even at the age of 9, I was always rearranging my room all the time. I was able to, for whatever reason, I was able to lift my bed on my own. I was able to lift my dresser on my own, and I was just always moving it, from one side of the room to the other. So about a week before, I had this random feeling like I needed to move my bed from the side of the room that the wall we shared to the other side of the room where there was a window. No reason. I just felt like, I feel like this is what I gotta do. So anyway, good.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm just going to.
Okay. So anyway, I moved my my bed to the other side of the room, and the bullet actually ended up going through my wall and landing on my bed while I was sleeping. And I slept the whole night with the bullet in my bed. And I actually had a cute little like Hannah Montana comforter, and I actually kept it for like a year or so afterwards, not realizing. But as soon as I found out about that, like I got rid of it immediately. But yeah, I was literally sleeping with it all night long, and I was told that by where it went through in the wall,
Yeah.
If I would not have moved my bed just randomly a week prior, that it probably likely would have hit me.
But it went
So,
through him and then it went through your wall and landed on your bed. Wow.
yeah,
Right?
went through
Am I
him,
right?
went through the wall, landed on my bed. Crazy, crazy stuff. Very scary, very sad. But the reason why I brought all that up is my cousin, he went and he put his finger into the hole in the wall. And then he started having dreams. We all started having dreams. He started having dreams, and he's someone who's very skeptical. He's very science brained. And he's only just recently, within the last like year or so, started to like consider, other possibilities for things. But he was having the dreams. My grandpa was having the dreams. My dad was having the dreams. I was having the dreams of him chasing us.
Yeah, and my son too. But
And something else I forgot to mention, since we're talking about dreams, is I had a dream about a week before he died that he died, and I was like really freaked out about it. And he wasn't a Christian, and I was a Christian at the time, and I still believe, but anyway, I was a Christian at the time, and it really affected me. He was actually supposed to go to church with us that morning, and he had agreed to go to church with us that morning. And I would cry and cry and cry over the idea of him not being a Christian. So I remember in this dream, I found out that he was going to die soon. And I don't think he had actually even died in the dream. We were just like, you're going to die soon. And so we sat and I prayed with him. And I was like, let's pray and pray and pray. And you'll become a Christian and it'll all be fine. And you'll go to heaven and blah, blah, blah. I had this dream just randomly. It's the first time I ever had a dream like that in my life. And then a week later, he passes away. And that ends up being a theme in my life, which we can get into later. But I'm sorry. You were talking about the dreams in general, and then you were going to go into your story.
So what kind of dreams are you have is starting to happen? What you said the cousin's having dreams. What's he dreaming about?
Basically, just my dad chasing everybody. My dad like being very scary and him chasing us. And something you need to know about my dad is that my dad was like a big teddy bear. He was very sweet, kind, and loving. And the man who showed up in our house, I kind of make a distinction between him and the man I grew up with. My dad was very sweet, very loving, shy, just an all-around good guy. And the man who showed up at our house didn't have the same demeanor. He didn't have the same vibe. He completely changed his appearance. He was very very self-conscious about his hair because he had started getting bald at like 23, and he always wore hats. But
I feel so
he always
bad
looked
for
nice.
men that are balding. That's like one of the things that I think our society, like if you made fun of women that were balding, that would just be so not cool. So I think our society needs to stop making fun of bald men. But that's just
I'm attracted to bald men.
you know what?
I don't have an issue.
Bald, if I were going bald, I'd shave that shit. I'd like shave it and like make it all shine. It's sexy.
Well, so my dad didn't do that though. He wore like trucker hats because he was a truck driver, and he was just a really cool, nice, sweet guy. And this guy, he didn't have the same reservations. He didn't have the same hang-ups. I mean, he went and got his ears pierced, which was not even something.
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, he was going through a crisis.
He was.
Or if that wasn't obvious enough by what he did. But.
Yeah, he really was.
So in the 1 month he was living with you, he got his ears pierced?
2 weeks. And no, it was when he showed up at our house.
He had earrings.
He had earrings. He had shaved his head. He was wearing different clothes. It was just completely different.
Completely different guy.
Do you know what happened to him that made him be so different?
Now, he did have a lot of trauma without divulging a bunch of family stuff that doesn't really matter. But he had a really rough childhood. He had, people, do certain things to him and hurt him in certain ways. And then on top of that, he had a drug problem for a really long time.
I was just going to ask that question. Was there any substance abuse?
At that
And-
time, he was
well,
out.
he was an
drinking.
alcoholic, but we didn't know that because
Yeah.
at the time they were very anti-alcohol. They didn't drink until like, after he had passed away. I had never seen them drink. Not that they didn't, but I had never seen them drink ever. But he was hiding like beer, like cases and cases of beer that we found. And I remember one time the neighbors that I mentioned were partying next door. I remember one time I accused their kids of dumping trash bags full of beer cans into our backyard because I was like, my parents don't drink. Why the hell would there be trash bags full of beer cans in the backyard? And I mean like huge industrial sized trash bags full to the brim with beer. He would hide he would hide outside or hide in the garage and he would drink, and we didn't know until after he passed away.
Yeah, we found a lot of stuff after he passed away, but so yeah, I mean, it was just my dad.
I worked in substance abuse. I'm an ex-social worker, so I did some substance abuse and I did intake. So yeah. Yeah, it's very sad. It's tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then his wife sucked. So
yeah, she did.
Probably been in a lot of physical and emotional pain and spiritual too. I'm
very sick.
Yes. And since he's passed, I don't talk about this a lot, but I'm very concerned because there was such a drastic change that I put my DNA out on GEDmatch just in case.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We don't really talk. Yeah, there was also some other things that maybe aren't appropriate to share, but that we found out, like weird things he would say or he would do about just different people. And he never did anything to me. He never did. Like, I'm totally fine. Everything's good.
Yeah.
But there were just things that sounded very out of character for him that I found out he had said or done. And even he was a truck driver. I don't remember if we mentioned that, but he had gotten fired because he got violent and like tried to like beat the crap out of somebody on the highway, like in front of his family.
Yeah.
Due to like road rage. And just a bunch of other stuff.
Was there an autopsy done when he passed away? Was there
there was
anything in his brain or anything?
They didn't say anything about the brain, but he did have a hepatitis that he got when he was in the army, supposedly, through the vaccinations because they used to use guns.
But also he was a drug user too.
Yes.
So who knows what really happened. They were wilding back then.
Yeah. So
like heavy drugs.
So I did find out that people who have suffered with hepatitis for that long, it starts eating away at their brain or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what somebody had told me when I shared the story, that that seems to happen after a very long period of time of having it.
And it would have been like, he would have had it for 30, 40 years.
He would have had it, for probably 40 years by that point.
He fighting Nam?
Well, he was too young to go to Nam. He signed up when he was 17.
But it was a couple years later because I know his brother went to Nam. So it was just a couple years later. Yeah, so it was around that time, just a little bit later.
Did he go to war, though? Did he go to war?
No, because he signed up when he was 17. He lied about his age, and it's just a whole thing. And so they didn't let him go, but he actually wanted to go. So yeah, he stayed, in the country.
So then what are some of the experiences that you started having, Amber?
Yeah, so like I said, the dreams where he was chasing us and being very ominous and scary. Then when we moved to the college, I would have to walk across the campus to get to the sub, where the mailboxes.
Student Union Building.
Yeah, the Student Union Building. And or go down to the laundry, and I would literally feel my dad behind me. Like I could feel his presence, his essence, and I could feel like
I would smell him sometimes.
Yeah,
for like the first year or so.
And he would like stalk me basically, and I remember like walking really fast to get wherever I was going because it genuinely felt like he was chasing me.
Which is so unusual too, because normally when someone passes away, you like to think of them like fondly and think of them like, oh, they're right next to me. Oh, this is, the sign of them. And it was completely the opposite for us. And this was the first death I ever experienced, by the way. So I just totally thought that the way that things happen when you died were totally different. Like I thought it was normal to have to go to the police station and get interrogated when you just passed away from cancer or something, you know.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Laura,
yeah. Just being honest. But anyway, sorry, I keep
write a
interrupting.
book someday about what you thought was normal.
Oh, I always think
Exactly.
about writing a book
Trauma.
actually.
What
But
was trauma and not normal?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Sorry, I'm a Gen Xer. I laugh at trauma too. So
yeah,
Yeah.
we're all on the same page. We're good. You can laugh and be like, haha, that's hilarious. Not offended. Not offended.
Yeah.
Okay.
No matter what we say, you're good. You're
Yeah.
fine.
Sometimes
I
people are
laughed
like,
at a
"She
very
says, like she's talking about somebody who's dead and she giggles, and it's like, but I can't be serious the whole time. What?
no, yeah, you're fine. Laugh all you want. You're
So I had those experiences, and then the most major one that happened was the night before my dad's funeral.
in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we traveled from Florida to Oklahoma, and we were in a hotel, and my dad's ashes were at the bottom of the bed because there was a chest at the bottom of the bed, and we had our suitcase there, and it was in there. And I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden this guy appeared. He was probably around 5'8". He was absolutely as white as you can possibly get. Just his skin was bleach white, and he had a bald head, and he was super skinny, super emaciated. You could see his bones. He didn't have a shirt on, and he was bare chested, but he had on shorts, and they were camo shorts, so like fatigues or whatever, but they had been chopped off, and so you could see like the little frays at the bottom. And he didn't have any shoes on. He was barefoot. And like I said, I'm not a zealot, so I'm not like having weird experiences like this in a normal setting, or I wasn't at that time.
At that time, but...
So all of a sudden, this guy, he starts telling me, "Hey, Amber, it's going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "You know what? I think you need to do is you need to pray Jesus, or not Jesus, pray your dad into your heart." And first of all, that's not how I speak. You know, when I talk about becoming a Christian, I don't talk about praying Jesus into your heart or anything like that. That's just not my vernacular. So for him to use those words was just really odd. So I knew it didn't really come from me. You know what I mean?
Were they his words? Yeah, like would he have used that kind of wording?
My dad,
he wasn't a Christian.
No, my dad, no.
He didn't.
So we just kind of went back and forth. Him telling me that it's going to be okay, and I just need to pray Jesus into my heart. And then me saying no. And I finally said, you know, if I did talk like that, if I did pray somebody into my heart.
Because she believes in baptism. She's not like, rather than praying someone into the heart. Because like that's like a normal usage that like people like talk about. Yeah, I just felt like that made a little more sense to just say she believes more so in baptism rather than just praying someone into your heart.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like praying. How do you? That doesn't sound Christian either. Praying someone into your heart. That doesn't. Sound Christian.
Yeah, so I know my mind wasn't coming up with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wasn't.
I've never heard a Christian say it. I'm going to pray you into my heart. That doesn't make sense. That kind of like you're supposed to already be in their heart.
Somebody else. Jesus.
Yeah. So we just went back and forth, and finally I said, you know, if I were to pray somebody in my heart, I would only pray Jesus into my heart. And then he disappeared, and my husband popped up immediately.
It was a demon that was around. Like, I hate to use the T word, but it sounds like it was, because that sounds sus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so my husband popped up immediately, and he's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And
she can't move the whole time, from what I understand.
Yeah.
She doesn't suffer from sleep paralysis.
Yeah, no, I've never had that problem before.
Not even since, right?
Yeah, no. And so he pops up and he's like, "What's wrong, Amber?" And he's like, "I've been sitting here praying this whole time, but something is really wrong." So obviously, whatever happened, my husband couldn't hear it.
But he could feel it.
He could feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's what's really kicked off everything. Just, that experience. And then after that, we just kind of, we ended up moving into her grandparents' rental property.
A few years later.
Yeah, a few years later.
Probably at least like 6 years later.
Because we had,
in
Florida.
In Florida.
In Florida.
2014. So it would have been 4 years later, 2014.
Okay. No, actually it was 2015.
2015? Oh, yeah, because it was right before your mom passed.
Mm-hmm.
But we were staying in the Orlando area, which is where, the event happened. And then this is in the Tampa area. So we moved like 2.5 hours away. Mm-hmm. Sorry, not that really matters, but.
Yeah. So we moved there, and it was a really cruddy place. We only moved there because we had to get out of our rental property in Kissimmee because the people wanted it back, and it was like immediate. They didn't give us any like notice or anything.
Like a month or something.
Yeah, it was really crazy. So we couldn't find any place there in Kissimmee, so we just decided to go over to this rental property, and we thought we'd only be there at a max 6 months. We ended up staying there 6.5 years.
Just because I'm in Florida, what did you say? What city it was that you moved to after Kissimmee? Did you say
Newport Richie?
Newport Richie, yeah, Tampa Bay area.
I live very near Newport Richie. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can have a conversation later, but yeah, we were in that area.
We actually moved from the Spring Hill area to Kissimmee to go to school, and then we moved back to the Newport.
But you know what we're talking about. Tampa Bay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Pasco. Yikes.
Well, I'm actually Citrus. I'm Citrus County. I'm like kind of like further out. I wanted to be away
gotcha, but close enough.
There, but I'm Citrus County, not that far.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So this house was really odd, and before we had moved there, my niece had lived there, and she had some paranormal experiences. And she had always told us about it. And so I was very leery to move in there. But we kind of were in a no-win situation. We had to do it.
Going through paranormal stuff. There was paranormal stuff there. I was kind of leery, but what are you going to do? Homeless, live in a haunted place. Haunted place it is.
Yeah.
And something worth noting, I feel like, is my cousin's husband, I guess they weren't married officially at the time, but her husband was staying there with her, from time to time. And he is very skeptical of the paranormal. Oh, yeah. He does not believe in anything like that. Like, even to this day.
Yeah.
He's in the army. He's just one of those guys. But he was saying, he's like, I don't believe in the paranormal, but I don't like that house. He says, there's something in that house that watches over me while I sleep. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say that.
People don't believe it, but they're like, yes, but this is happening.
He's like, I don't believe it, but something's happening. So, sorry.
Yeah. So that's the context of this house. So, and it was in a really weird, sketchy area, and the neighbor was like absolutely weird. We're not going to go. We're not going to go into that. Okay. So, anyways,
that's a weird neighbors in Florida.
Yes. Pasco County is weird.
I feel like that we don't have to talk about it right now, but I feel like that neighbor is paranormal in herself and might even be something worth mentioning. Oh, but maybe not right now. But we'll get into it later.
Okay,
is it the land? Was it possibly the land? If it was the neighbor too,
could have been the land because everyone in that area, the person. Okay, so we're in a middle house, right? We're actually like the only actual house in the area. Everything else is like trailers and stuff, which is like fine. But anyway, so we're in the house. One of the trailers, it's someone who got arrested for kidnapping and something like that sort of thing back in the 90s. Then it was us. And then the next one over is this crazy lady who we'll maybe talk about later, maybe not. But her husband, while we were there, along with a bunch of other stuff, she was mentally ill though, so she got to come back afterwards.
Feeding that area.
Yeah. And then there was like another chomo on the side of the house. And then across the street there was a guy who was friends with my dad for a while, but he did like a lot of really shady stuff. And there were a lot of really bad things that were happening over there too. And someone didn't try to, but told everyone in the neighborhood that he wanted to R-word me. And that was the person who lived 2 houses down. Oof, yeah. So
How
lots
long
and lots
did
of
you
bad
live
people.
in this area? How long did you live here?
6
There.
years, six and a half
6 years.
years.
Wow, that's a long time.
But one thing you need to know is that my husband is 6'6", 240 pounds, and
He's strapped.
he was constantly, out in the area watching, and making sure that things were fine. So it wasn't like we were in.
Yeah, people wouldn't mess with him.
Chomos are everywhere though now, so they're just everywhere.
Yeah, and you don't
You just
know
have to watch
half
kids.
of the people who are really. So
And there was a bar in the neighborhood.
yeah, it was a VFW, but
Oh, gotcha.
So anyways, it was a crazy place, and I was suffering from severe debilitating chronic migraines at this time. And so I was basically in bed for 26 days out of the month for about 6.5 years.
It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't
Were your
eat. I
migraines,
lost.
were they any way associated with your menstrual cycle? Because that's what mine used to be. Because I only had like 4 good days out of the month because I was either going through PMS, the severe cramps, or the severe migraines. It was just a cycle that repeated itself.
So mine was from my fall because it starts in my neck.
Oh, that's right. You said from your fall. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, but I did have a hysterectomy.
Within like a month of us moving there too.
Yeah,
which was another fun thing for her to deal with. She had a hysterectomy and then her mom died within a month of us living there.
And then I started getting the migraines. So, I mean, I'd had the migraines,
but they were exacerbated by
Tylenol. Yeah, so I would lay in bed and I listened to a lot of audiobooks because I couldn't read anymore. So I have like probably over 1,000 audiobooks. So yeah, I did that, and when I would lay there, I would hear what I thought was my husband coming into the room, and then sit down on the bed, but it wouldn't be him. I would hear like shuffling or feet moving. I would track it all the way across around the bed. I would feel something sit down on the bed, but then when I would look over, it wouldn't be my husband. There would be nothing there. And
could you see the indentation in the bed?
It was usually always dark, so I couldn't see, and my vision was pretty messed up at that time because I was always blurry, and so that was happening, and then I don't know why this happened. It's the weirdest thing, but the nun from The Conjuring, they made me watch it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, after that, when I would hear that shuffling or whatever, I would literally see that nun just standing there. And I was like, okay, this has got to, I don't know if this is the migraines. I don't know what is going on, but I would see that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, that happened there. I don't remember anything other than that happening there.
But the vibes are just so off there. Like, and she was okay. Something that's also worth mentioning. We stayed there for 6.5 years. A couple, unfortunate circumstances came about, and they ended up staying with my grandma for a couple weeks, who lived in Brooksville, which is probably about like 30, 45 minutes away from where we are living. Okay. She goes to live with them, and I'm living on my own by the way. At this point, I've since moved back in with mommy and daddy, but I was doing my own thing. I spread my wings for a couple of years. So anyway, but they moved in, and almost immediately her migraines and her sickness and stuff wasn't like gone, but like she could actually do stuff again. The second she got out of that house, it was better. And then she would go to that house to like help clean up or to like to do something, and then immediately she's sick again, like horrible. I don't know if it was like mold or if it was like, just the aura, but like everybody else was fine. We were fine. But that's also when my dad went, I wouldn't say he necessarily went through a deep depression, because I feel like that's probably not how he would describe it. But he started sleeping all the time. He was always on the TV or on the couch watching TV. He didn't do anything. They all stopped going to church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just bad,
Huh.
bad, bad. It just, it
Mhm.
like, or not that
Sounds
was the
like the
worst thing in the
house
world or
was just
anything,
kind of
but just,
draining all
he
of
just
you.
felt bad. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, just completely drained. I had to get out of there. I hated it. I always felt like there was something watching me, but I never saw anything. I don't want to make
Mhm.
it seem like I did, because I did not. And then also Charles, my little brother, his room was almost kind of like a closet. It was super, super small. And that was the room where not only did he say that he felt something in there, my cousin who had lived there previously, she said that she'd always smell cigarette smoke in there. And apparently, according to some people, like a smell of smoke is like a telltale sign that there might be paranormal stuff happening. Again, take that however you
Well,
will, but you
odors
know,
in
that's just something
itself
people
are
say.
telltale
Mhm.
signs. Did
Mhm.
Yeah.
so this is not your dad. You don't think this is just
No.
something completely
Oh no,
different.
just
Didn't follow
something.
you at all or anything
Mhm.
like that,
We
right?
don't know if it followed us or not. Well, honestly, with her dad, this might sound dramatic, and we're not saying this is definitively what it
I
was,
don't think it was
but
your dad. I think it was something else pretending to be him,
I did
but
too.
well, I don't think her dad was involved in anything. We think, again, everyone don't think we're crazy, but we kind of think that her dad was possessed.
Mhm.
It took me a lot of years to think that. I still don't know what I believe. I don't really even know what I believe about the paranormal. I don't know if I think it's demons. I don't know if I think it's ghosts. I don't know if I don't know what I think it is.
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm
I'm not
open
sure what
to
to
all
think anymore.
interpretations.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm
I had
open
a
to all
friend that thought
interpretations.
all paranormal stuff was UFO
Mhm,
stuff too. So
mhm.
who knows what it is?
I believe in
Me,
UFOs. I
Mhm.
believe in a lot of
I do
things, and I'm
too. I
open to believing in
completely
a lot
believe
of
in.
things.
I believe in
Mhm.
UFOs and cryptoids more than I believe in the paranormal. But I think I like
Yeah,
we
same.
live in such this is not it, and
Mhm,
the cracks are starting, the seams are starting to bust, and things are starting to
mhm,
bust through, and
Mhm.
people like your uncle, like, I don't know, I don't believe in anything, but something's there. You know
mhm,
what I mean?
mhm.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
more and more
Yeah,
people are
definitely.
experiencing this kind of weird activity.
Have you ever heard of the theory that time, like, well, I mean, time really just is a construct of our own imagination, but that time doesn't really exist, and that the past, present, and future are all happening at once in locations.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that, like for instance, here we live in Missouri, so there was a lot of Native American populations. So, you know, right now in this physical space, just in a realm that we can't see, there's, you know, people, you know, walking in the marshes, the Native Americans walking in the marshes in this area, and then there's us doing this, and then there's whatever, you know, is coming in the future, and it's all happening right in this exact place at the exact same
Yeah,
time.
I've
Mhm.
heard
I
that.
never really gave any thought to that. I never really gave it any power or whatever up until like the last maybe month or so. And I was just thinking, yeah, maybe that is what it is. Cause
Mhm.
a lot of times I don't believe, like, I believe demons exist, I think. But I don't think most hauntings are because of necessarily demons or ghosts. I think it's more so like an energy. I feel like
Mhm.
there's
Yeah,
energy. We all have energy within ourselves. And then I was like, okay, well that kind of feeds into my energy thing. I was like, maybe it's just like the energy stays there because it's always happening. It's always happening because everything
yeah.
that's ever happened is happening in the same spot all at once. You just can't see it because you're just perceiving things. I don't know. I know that sounds a little like, you know,
No,
crazy,
no,
but
that's the complete theory that's out there. It's that,
mhm,
the
Mhm.
Matrix
yeah.
theory. I mean,
Yeah.
you take your yeah, I lean more towards the
Mhm,
energy, like everything's happening
mhm,
all at the same time, all at once, you know, and
mhm.
but I also am lean I'm a reincarnation kind of person. I think like we
I believe in
reincarnate with the same
reincarnation as well.
people and our family and that kind of stuff. And when you marry into another family, then that family, and I believe in generational
Mhm.
curses and all of that. So
Mhm.
Yes. Well, as far as the reincarnation thing, what I believe at least, or at least what I think I believe, I don't really solidly believe a lot. I'm very open to having my mind changed with new evidence and stuff.
Mhm.
But
uh,
the way that I figure in my mind, you know, it's indisputable that we all have some sort of an energy within us, whether you want to call it a soul or you want to call it this, that, or the other. So
uh-huh.
also, energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
Mhm.
So in my mind, I feel like the same energy that's always been within the universe or within the world, um, has just always been here, is staying here. And, you know, when you pass away, the energy that's within you leaves and it goes to another person, but it's still the same energy that's always been around. So I don't know if I necessarily believe that, like, you know, oh, I was Marilyn Monroe in another life, or, you know, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe,
Yeah.
you know, and she's just an extreme example, but because a lot of people like to compare themselves to her, but, you know, maybe I wasn't Marilyn Monroe in another life, but maybe part of the energy that was inside of her recycled and came back to me, and is maybe also in her, and then, you know, a bunch of other people, something similar to that effect. And I think that's how I
the whole
process it.
purpose. Yes, that's the whole purpose of putting good out there, because when you're putting it out there, it's recycling back into other people,
Yeah.
and then it's
Yeah.
recycling when you cross over. It's just, you know, it's recycling, and that's what it all
Yeah.
is. It's not new energy, but it's but what do you guys think about this? Like, where do the UFO people, are we earthlings that are creating the same energy, and we're just like reincarnating within the earth energy, or do we go out there and we reincarnate on other planets? How do you perceive that?
So for me personally, now I'm always evolving my mind, my thinking, you know, trying to figure this out. But in my opinion, I think a lot of the alien stuff is angels and demons. And I say that because of the Bible. There's several instances of what would be considered a UFO of some sort.
Like a flying chariot and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And
No, there are a few UFO references in there. I know that because I hear the UFO people talk about it.
Yeah, and so with that, and then you take so the Book of Enoch, have you heard about that?
Yes, I have, but I haven't read it, and so I've heard of it.
Okay. So I have read a little bit of it. I haven't delved too deep into it, but it talks about,
It's an alleged lost book of the Bible, for context, for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yes. And it talks about basically it's the story of why God flooded the earth. Basically. Why Noah built the ark and why all of this happened. And it talks about angels and demons, or the fallen angels, coming down here, creating new life forms, experimenting. It talks about some demons or fallen angels having been put inside of like rocks, or at the bottom of a lake or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of talk about that kind of stuff in there. And when I started watching Skinwalker Ranch, I know.
I don't know how much I believe in Skinwalker Ranch, for the record.
So the only reason I believe in
about Skinwalker a long time. I think I
believe in Skinwalkers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
I've never
the reason,
been, though. I've always wanted to go, though, but I've always been too scared.
Me too. Yeah, but so the reason I think that Skinwalker Ranch is real is because I follow people like Dave Politis, who does Missing 411, which is an awesome thing to look at. I encourage anybody to go pick up his books or go to his YouTube channel. And he talks about Bigfoot and aliens and things like that. And from the information I get from him, and then George Knapp, who broke the story on Bob Lazar back in the 80s, I guess, and other people like that, they actually give a lot of credit about what is actually going on there at Skinwalker Ranch, and that it's actually true and really happening. So in Skinwalker Ranch, there is this mesa, and they're in Utah. So there's this mesa that they've been trying to dig into. And
what's a mesa?
So it's like a big rock structure, you know, like out in the desert, you know.
Gotcha. Sorry, I'm just asking.
Okay. So they've been trying to dig into this mesa with drills. because there's been so much weird activity over there. And what they've found is well, for one thing, they can't get very far into the mesa, which is supposed to be just rock, but something is keeping it from going in. And then when they pull out the drill and they take core samples from the drill, you can they found particles that are used in spaceships and or like rockets and things like that keep it from burning up in the atmosphere and stuff like that. And this is inside of a huge rock.
Well, they're saying
In the
that's where they
desert.
are. They're staying they're in the ground now and in the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So-
And so I don't know what that means, but to have all of this weird phenomena happen at this one place and them finding space age technology basically inside of rock is very interesting. And so yeah.
Yeah, how does that connect to the
Aliens.
aliens
I
or
just-
angels and demon thing?
Okay,
I was just
so-
curious. I'm not. You just said something about angels and demons, and then you started saying that. I just didn't know if you had more to say on it.
So in the Book of Enoch, it talks
Mhm.
about one angel being put in a mountain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Okay,
you think it's
gotcha.
an angel in the mountain?
It could be. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. She just thinks
I'm just
aliens might be angels and demons. and
yeah.
stuff.
That's where I was getting
Which
at.
I could see. I could definitely see. Has anyone heard of To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge from Blink 182?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about at all?
I
Okay,
do not.
so this is going to be very surface level
I'm
information.
very
It's something
interested.
it's something that I would love to do a deep dive on, but it is something that I know very little about. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I also don't even know how much I believe him. A lot of people think that people from the government are trying to use him as a thing to distract us from other stuff. But anyway, so Tom DeLonge, the lead singer of Blink 182, where are you? That voice. Okay, yeah, that guy.
Mhm.
So he. so
Isn't
he
Blink
started.
182, that's the one that Kourtney Kardashian's husband's a
Travis.
drummer, right?
That's the band. Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying that was the same person.
Yeah.
No, it's the same band, different
Mhm.
person though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Travis Barker is the drummer of that band, but this is the lead singer of that band. Okay.
The lead singer.
So-
Gotcha.
Yes, his name is Tom DeLonge. So if I say that, that's who I'm talking about. But anyway, he has, I don't know if it is an organization or a nonprofit or what it is. I don't know what it is. But he has something, it's called To the Stars Academy, and it's not like an actual academy. But basically he believes.
Oh, are they
in
the ones
angels and
that are
demons.
going? No, sorry, I just interrupted. Never mind. I thought he was the one
No,
that's
you're
sending people
fine.
up into space, but that's another person.
That's
doing
SpaceX,
that.
I think,
Yeah,
with
that's
Elon
SpaceX,
Musk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, this is something different, and I actually don't even know what they're doing right now. I haven't looked into it in a couple of years, and it seems like they've kind of slowed down. But especially since he's rejoined Blink 182 because he left for several years, and he also had a side music project called Angels and Airwaves, which is interesting to note. But he believes in aliens. He is actually working with several people that have worked in, secret intelligence agencies within the U.S. government. And he knows people that have worked at Area 51. He knows a lot of people. A lot of people think that, it's just the government trying to get us off the track and, kind of distract us with something. And he just happens to be somebody that's taking the bait.
Mhm.
I don't know what I believe in that regard, but he firmly believes that aliens are angels and demons and that there is a spiritual war, and he's not even a Christian or anything, from what I understand, but he believes that there's a spiritual war of some sort and that they're going to war right now. I'd have to look more into it, but there's even a picture that he uploaded to Instagram of like an angel or something like that. And I believe in angels. I believe in angels. Actually, hold up real quick. I'll kind of see if I can put it up on here a little bit, but I have a tattoo. I'm going to try not to flash everybody with my short shorts. I have a little tattoo. Ooh, it's a seraphim. It's really hard to tell, but it's a biblically accurate angel. That's how they say that the angels look in the Bible. And
Wait,
this is something. Oh, sorry.
I didn't see it.
Okay. It's kind of hard for me to do this. So let me see.
Just stand up.
Stand up. Oh, there's my Betty page.
Here, let me take myself off so you.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, that's
The
neat.
way to describe it is there's supposed to be a bunch of wings, there's supposed to be a bunch of eyes and stuff like that. So I would very much like to clarify that I was under the influence of a special plant. A special plant that you can see right here, okay? I was under the influence of a special plant. So take it like that. Don't take it as anything else. But that being said, every time I am underneath the influence of a special plant, I will be sitting out wherever I'm at, and there's one specific spot when I do it in this particular place where I will see. Actually, the way that I even know that the trip is coming on is I start to see eyes everywhere. I think Angels and Airwaves would be his band. I think it would be To the Stars Academy that would actually specifically talk about. Yeah, I think Angels and Airwaves was a music project, if I remember correctly. But To the Stars Academy is what I would look up. But yeah, every time that I know that a trip is coming on, it's because I start to see eyes in the trees. I start to see eyes everywhere, like freaking everywhere. It's crazy. But anyway, I see an angel watching over me that looks just like that darn tattoo. I see it watching me from the trees. And again, know for a fact that yes, I am under the influence of stuff. I'm not saying it's actually there, but personally speaking, I am of the belief that a lot of cryptids and stuff like that might actually just exist in another realm that maybe you can't see unless you're doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There are a bunch of different cultures that have the same cryptids, they have the same myths and legends and stuff, and they're cultures that would have never interacted with each other. And a lot of them also have different mushrooms that are native to their areas. And again, I'm not saying that anything is any kind of way. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm not even telling you to do it yourself unless you want to, which I would recommend. I wouldn't say is a bad idea. But anyway, but yeah, I think that it's just kind of something that's like slightly beyond the veil.
All the cryptids veil is thinning because something's changing, and we're starting to be able to see that stuff. The other day I was reading something, and remember that Coco the gorilla, Coco the gorilla. Remember her?
I don't.
She was saying one of her last things she said was nature is watching.
I think I know what you're talking about now. I know what you're talking about now. But I feel like I'm being watched. Like I said, I haven't done something like that in a minute.
Yeah. I've been sitting outside a lot, and I just if you notice them, why am I like talking like I'm from New York all of a sudden? If you notice them, they notice you. Like the dragonflies, there's all these dragonflies are around me now, and the birds, if I talk to them, they talk to me, and even if the plants, like if you talk to them, the oxygen helps them along, and they help you, or what is it that we give? What carbons do we emit for the
carbon dioxide?
Carbon dioxide.
Whatever. We help them, they help us with the oxygen. It's just like I feel like the whole world is starting to wake up to each other. You're seeing more and more people with their dogs and dressing them up. And the other day I saw this video of this dolphin carrying a dog on its back. It's just like strange things are starting to happen in the world, and animals that would never come together are waking up to one another. And I just don't know, like it's speeding up. I feel like the world is speeding up right now.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time outside as well, and
me too.
I see a lot in the sky around us. It's very bizarre. I guess that there must be like, I guess there's a base fairly near to us that is an Air National Guard or something like that. And so we see a lot of Chinook helicopters and weird stuff. I've seen like stealth jets, stealth bombers.
One time, were you out there? I think it might have just been Dad and I.
No,
just a bunch of lights shooting across the sky.
No, that was everybody told us this Starlink. But Starlink, if that's Starlink, it looks like a straight up alien invasion.
Is it possible? Yeah, I've heard of the Starlink. Is it possible?
Mhm.
I was looking up in the sky, and I live by like this small airport, and there was this
Mhm.
plane going by, and there was this other thing in the sky, and I was watching the thing in the sky, and it was moving along at a clip, and then the
Mhm.
plane started coming, and the thing that I was watching first reversed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Is it possible for another aircraft to reverse to let another plane go by? Is that possible?
I don't I don't think
I
so.
don't know.
And I've seen stuff like that too.
Mhm.
And so I don't know what it is, but it's very odd. And I've seen things uh zip around,
Yeah.
not just in, a
Mhm.
normal flight pattern and things like that. But that Starlink is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's wild.
So,
Okay, ladies, we're coming up on the end. We kind of went over a little bit. Did we cover the rest of the haunting, or is there more?
no, we didn't. If you want me to just go into a little bit of detail, since we moved here to Missouri,
Mhm.
um, and I'm not the only one who's experiencing things. Even my neighbors experiencing some things,
Yeah.
and then
And he's a skeptic.
yeah, and Alora has seen or felt some weird things here.
Did you guys
But
Yeah.
bring it? Do you think you bring it?
I think we just are a magnet to it.
I
I
think,
don't know if it followed us or if it's something else, but we're a magnet to the
Or it
paranormal, I feel
pulled
like.
you to it?
yeah, yeah, I
Mhm.
think we are a magnet,
Mhm.
and whatever odd things are around are going to be
Or you're a
attracted to us.
battery. Sometimes it exists, and then
Mhm.
the right family moves in, and it's the right
Mhm.
battery, and it's like bing,
Hmm.
Mhm.
turns it
Yeah.
right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So twice in our kitchen, and it's been right in front of our pantry. The first time I was standing in front of our pantry, and my kids were sitting at the table, and my husband was looking at me across the kitchen, and all of a sudden I got pushed on my right shoulder. And I was like, what the heck? And so I looked around, and nobody was acting weird. Nobody acted like anything was different. And I was like, guys, something weird just happened to me, but I kind of played it off a little bit. And then maybe 2 or 3 months later, I'm not exactly sure, Alora was standing over the trash can doing something, and I was behind her, and I was in front of the pantry again. And all of a sudden, I felt somebody put their arm on my right shoulder again. And I looked over because I was like, that can't be Alora because she's in front of me. And then I felt a push.
Mhm.
And so that's happened twice. And then when I was sitting on my deck outside, I had a lighter underneath my leg, and all of a sudden it was grabbed and pulled out
Mhm.
from underneath my leg. And my husband was sitting right there. And I was just like, what the heck? I jumped up, you know. And then we had a weird incident the other day where our dog was like, you could tell he saw something, and he was barking at it, and he was being he tracked it the whole time,
Mhm.
and he was just like, it would move.
Mhm.
It wasn't like he was just looking
Oh
at one
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
And even when you guys went out of town, and what was I supposed to do about it? I wasn't supposed to do anything, so I just kind of ignored it. But I was laying in their bed because I don't really have enough room in mine. And Franklin, which is our bigger dog,
He's a
he's
coonhound.
a coonhound. He has separation anxiety. So I slept in their room, and there was like one little corner. He just kept barking and barking and barking at.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's really
Do
all I've
you
seen.
ever
Although,
try to help these things along, or get rid of them? Have you
What?
ever attempted that? Have you ever tried to attempt to move them along, or help them to wherever they need to go,
Um,
or get rid of
tried to
them?
pray, burn sage.
yeah.
Well, I
Have you
burn
ever
sage.
had
My dad
anybody
doesn't
come in
like
the
that, but
home to help you? Because I used to have a
yeah.
group, and I used to go do this kind of stuff. But have you ever
My
had
husband would.
But we've also had other weird experiences, and we won't get into it because I know it'll take way too long to explain. But we've gone ghost hunting before, like with like actual like machines and like what are they called? The
Dowsing rods.
Dowsing rods, the EVP things, the ghost or the spirit boxes, the things where you can like it makes noises. When we were in St. Augustine at the prison, we heard something talking to us over the box, and I couldn't remember what it was.
I can't remember.
And again, like I said, I'm indifferent or I like Christianity, but I'm kind of indifferent to it. But I remember we were sitting with the dowsing rods, and it was, the thing was you'd come up with some kind of a code. Normally you'd ask them yes or no questions, and yes would be like a Y, like it would open up, and no would like close and touch or whatever. And I remember I think she asked like, "Oh, do you believe in God or do you fear God or something?" And no. Oh shit. And then there's another prison that's kind of closer to our house now. We went and we saw and felt some weird stuff. And then on my birthday last year, which is the last time that I partook, we went on a ghost tour, and we went to some graveyards while I was, and oh boy, was that very interesting. The shop that we were in, we got really bad vibes. We had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
We had to go to the bathroom, and it felt like something was watching us and like pushing us and stuff. And like it was so bad that
we ran out.
It was so bad that we both went into the bathroom at the same time. And it wasn't because normally when I do this, I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all. Like I'm completely fearless. Nothing freaks me out. And being in the graveyards actually felt peaceful. It wasn't scary. But in this one particular like shop that we were in the bathroom, scared the crap out of me. And like I said, I become fearless when I'm on this stuff, and it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, we were in Hannibal, Missouri, which is Mark Twain's hometown, and there's a whole lot of interesting stuff there.
But yeah, that's a story for another time. But
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, well, that's pretty much it for the most part.
Why don't you guys come back on the show and we'll talk more paranormal stuff?
We'd love to.
Shannon is going to love to talk to you because Shannon's favorite thing was to do the dowsing rods. I'm like, we were talking about the dowsing rods.
Yes.
He would always be like, Amy, can I use the dowsing rods? Because I would have like this tool thing, and she'd pick out the dowsing rods. So yes, please come back.
Yeah, of course. And I'd love to actually get some dowsing rods of my own, to be honest.
I don't know if I want that.
I don't know if she wants it in her house, but I'll put it somewhere else. So.
Okay, so let's pull up your your channel real quick.
Yeah.
So it's Into the Weeds, but it says Outlandish History Featured.
Yeah, she probably needs to change it. She just doesn't know how to do stuff.
Yeah, up here it says Outland. So when you guys are, I'm going to put the link down in the description, but if you guys come to the channel and you see Outlandish History Featured, that's it. It's Into the Weeds podcast.
And
change it to Into the Weeds or
probably.
Or is it like kind of like what I'm doing, the Outlandish History Network, and your podcast is Into the Weeds podcast. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm also on Military Broadcast Radio. So,
so if you guys watch our stuff, there's a bunch of weird commercial breaks and stuff.
Military Broadcast Radio?
Yes, Military Broadcast Radio. It is an organization. It's a nonprofit where people who have either been in the military or first responders can have their own podcast, basically, with the help of MBR, encouraging them and giving veterans basically a voice to get out of our heads, to quit thinking about all of everything and internalizing it and just getting it out there. And so it's
therapy.
It's very good therapy. It's helped a lot of veterans, and even with suicidal ideation and things like that. It's been very helpful to everybody.
Amazing. Well, this has been because I tried to harm myself 3 times before I came into this. And so this has been very helpful for me. No, it's okay. I was going through a really bad time, different time, different season. I'm, through that, but this has helped me so much. And I had a stroke on top of it. So it has helped me. It helps with my focus. It helps with my creativity. So I can see how it would help with veterans. It seems like I'm so happy that it's helping you.
Yeah, I am too.
You don't need to be a bummer.
And Alora's
Don't
tagging
be sad,
along.
you guys. I didn't mean to bring you down. Don't be sad. Things are great for me. Okay.
No.
Like plop that down and you're like, oh.
No, we're just showing empathy. But yeah, no, I get it. We've lost more than just my grandpa to that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
it's like,
and I've been
well,
there
we know
myself, so we completely get it.
I mean, circumstances can take you places where you never think you're going to go. And I
Absolutely.
think that like we can bring hope, strength, and courage to other people.
Yeah.
And you can bring hope, strength, and courage because through your you have post-traumatic stress, right? I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are
Yes.
bringing yourself out of that, and that's amazing. And like the program, what is it called again?
Military
MRB
Broadcast Radio.
And this is right.
Yeah.
This is the right one, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
MB Radio.
And there's Military Broadcast Radio. There's MBR Talk. There's 3 channels because, there's, anything, if you see this logo, the first logo, that's
This one?
MBR. Yes, because we have so many veterans signing up that StreamYards, we've been having a lot of problem with StreamYards. And so we've had to make 3 channels. So there's MBR Radio, MBR Talk. Actually, there's 4 now. MBR Radio, MBR Talk, MBR 2, and MBR 3.
Wow.
Oops, I meant to silence it. Yeah, wow. Okay, so I'll put all those links down below. Is this something that if somebody's a veteran, it would be good for them to contact them about?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and
they have a bit of a waiting list from what I understand, but don't let that discourage you. If it's something that you're genuinely interested in, they definitely love to have a conversation with you and try and figure something out.
Yeah. And I do see this this message. It says, I can tell you the Bible tells us that stuff is considered messing. That stuff is considered messing with the occult, and God calls that serving 2 masters. And so I will say that what happens when you're a Christian and it comes looking for you? And then so...
Because we tried to get away from it. We've tried everything we can to not even look into it or anything. It's only within the last, since we moved up here, that we've even really been having conversations about it.
Yeah. And us going to these haunted places, it's just more fun.
It's more fun. And most of the time, it's probably not even legit.
Yeah.
But also... I, personally speaking, I'm just doing whatever the hell I want. She's the only one who really has to stay by that. I'm figuring my stuff out.
I'm just
figuring stuff out.
What do you do when you're a Christian and it comes to you? That's a good question. That's a good question.
Because, I mean, they don't talk about it.
When I would do the investigations, I would find out what religion the family was, because that's very important in getting rid of whatever it is. You have to go into their belief system.
Definitely.
To help them. So
definitely.
That's my belief. But you know what? Here we let anybody believe whatever they want. I don't. You don't have to believe what I believe. I don't have to believe what you believe. We're just all having a conversation.
Yeah. But then even in the Catholic Church, they have the exorcisms and stuff like that, and this stuff, and there's been like for instance, Ed and Lorraine Warren are the only demonologists that have ever actually been certified with the Catholic Church. And I have my issues with some of the things they've said, but regardless, this stuff actually exists, or something. Even if you don't know what it is you think it is, something is happening. People are seeing things, they're feeling things, and in the very least, I feel like as a Christian, it would be a good thing to try and understand how it fits into your beliefs and what you should do about it, because you can ignore stuff, but it's just going to keep happening around you, because we've tried to ignore stuff 1,000 times and it just keeps happening. And it's maybe there's a certain point where God maybe actually wants you to look into it, and God doesn't. There's a lot of things that aren't in the Bible. Okay. There's a lot of things that aren't in the Bible they don't speak on.
Kings put in the Bible to influence. I believe. I was able to interview Lorraine Warren before she passed, and she told me something really interesting. She was like, people think that Halloween is the time when the veil thins. She said, but it's not Halloween.
I believe it.
She said, honey, it's not Halloween. It's exactly how she talked. She goes, it's Easter time. It's when Jesus was risen from the dead. That's when the veil is thin. He rose from the dead.
Yeah, I can see
the
that
thin
too.
veil, and that's when it is. So I don't know. I don't know if
I
it's
can see
true or
that.
not, but that's what she said.
Yeah.
Life is just too crazy, and you don't have to go looking for it. And in the sense of maybe as a Christian, the dowsing rods and stuff might be questionable. I can understand that.
Yeah.
But as someone who's just kind of exploring, trying to figure out what she believes, I'm just going to do what I want, to be honest. So,
The
and that's
dowsing
why she just
rods
said a second
were
ago she might not want
originally,
the dowsing rods in her house. Like I wanted tarot cards, and she said no. You know what I mean?
yeah, the
And I'm an
dowsing
adult.
rods could be considered
Mhm.
something that a spirit could manipulate and
Mhm.
could
Yeah.
therefore be considered
So
like, I don't think, yeah. But my mom is a
yeah.
Christian and she gave me my dowsing rod, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Everyone sees things differently. We all have different,
Mhm.
yeah. There's no right
J
way to
Lord
be.
is our resident. She brings questions to the table. She doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily like believe them, or she might believe this one. I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
but she likes to bring
Oh, no
questions
offense taken
and like
anyway.
to bring open thought
Mhm.
to the conversation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we encourage that. We are just
yeah,
clarifying that, that's
we
just
love J
Yeah.
how we
Lord.
feel about it anyway.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Can't really do about it if it's following you.
they weren't being offensive in any way. They just like
Yeah.
to bring
We
open
don't take it that
conversation.
way.
Yeah.
Don't take it that way at all.
Okay, ladies. So let's I shared your page. Is there anything else you
Thank
want
you.
me to share for you before we go? Be sure to go over and subscribe. Let's try to get into the weeds up to 1,000. So Miss
That would be
Amber can
awesome.
be
We'll do it one day.
monetized with her in depth.
I mean, you can always look me up on TikTok, Alora Flowers. I'm not someone who posts a bunch on there, but something we're not really talking about much. But if anyone's trying to figure out what's going on with that whole Gypsy Rose fancy situation, I will be making a video on it eventually. I've just been
Okay.
trying to collect actual evidence, and I don't really want to talk about it too much because I just really don't think that it's worth time or stress. You know what I mean? I think it's been blown out of the
Oh,
water.
Mhm.
But if anyone's interested in that, the original videos of some of the stuff that I say that I have now changed my mind on, they're on there. But
Change your
or
perspective.
change my perspective after seeing other evidence. But
Mhm.
regardless, don't need to get into that. But
Yeah.
Alora Flowers, Alaura, and then Flowers. So if you're
okay.
curious, there will be something posted about that. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks. I've just been taking time to actually live my life and not get too invested in anything because it's really not worth the stress.
No,
It's
it's
not.
not. I walked away. I had to
It's not.
step away from the Gypsy Rose.
Yeah.
For people that don't know, she's talking about the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story, and they have a very specific story to share. I don't want to share.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't.
No,
I
you're
don't want
totally
to
fine.
share
We
it
don't need
for
to get
you.
into that.
So
That's why I only
yeah,
just said it like that. Like it
that's
doesn't really matter in
that's
the
for
grand scheme of
Wednesday and
things.
Fridays.
Yeah.
Plus your mom kind of said like let's not talk about it, so I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only reason why I brought it up for a second. I was just saying like, hey, that's gonna
But I'm
be
sure people,
put out
they
there.
know you
Yeah.
from that. So they're
Mhm.
probably like,
Yeah.
I love it when you go through a whole broadcast and people are listening,
Mhm.
waiting. And at the end, you're like, oh, by the way, two
Yeah.
more
I
weeks.
figured it
or
was worth
something.
mentioning, but it wasn't
Yeah,
important
no,
enough for it to be
yeah, that was
Yeah.
perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
I think that's all that matters.
Okay.
And
All right.
yeah, and
Oh, go ahead.
just from and just from me, I'm just interviewing interesting people
Mhm.
and putting it out there. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying
all
to
we're
learn.
doing.
There is an interview of Flawless Nina over there that I hadn't
There
seen
is.
before. So if
Yeah.
anyone's interested in a Flawless Nina, she's
Mhm.
the one that's really covered, like, is deep into the GRB
Yeah.
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, and she's slightly less controversial than Fancy, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
lot less of the crazy stuff.
Mhm.
Just a
I
legitimate
should say
conversation. And we
too,
talk about other stuff too.
they have a fancy interview too. I should mention that too.
We do have a fancy interview. Something. But yeah.
Fancy was being fancy. Fancy was fancy.
And then we have a live stream on there that actually talks about what, happened for the most part.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, maybe another day we can just come on and have a conversation about that. We air on
I'd be open to
we're
it.
Wednesday and Fridays at 8:00 that we talk about true crime and all
Okay.
that
Good
goodness.
stuff.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Amber and
Thank you for
Alora,
having us on. It was really good talk.
It was. Okay. Bye, ladies.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have
Bye,
a good
everybody.
night. Bye.
That was the mother and daughter duo, Amber and Alora. Sorry. from Into the Weeds. I didn't even get to ask her if that's why she named Alora from Alora Danning. I meant to do that. Anyway, from Into the Weeds podcast. Be sure to go check them out. I will put all of their stuff down in the description. So you don't even have to look for it. You can just go right down to the description. Give me about 5-10 minutes to do that. Thank you so much, Heavenly and Chris C, for being my mods. I really appreciate it. Right now, I see J Lord in here. Thank you, J Lord, for coming in and bringing such a great conversation. I didn't even see you were really talking, J Lord. I missed almost everything you said. Half the time I have to go back and watch chat after a live to see if I missed anything, but then I'm too lazy to do that half the time too. So I'm going to be honest. Okay, guys, I'm going to rush out. I know I went 2 hours. Wow. Thank you so much, Chrissy and Heavenly, for staying with me this long. All right, guys, I'm going to go. If nobody's told you this today, and even if somebody has, I'm telling you this. I love you guys so, so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawoman Radio. I'm Amy.
Carefully strumming this old guitar, words rolling out into the fire. Never asked why my heart burned blue. Here in the haze where you inspire me. Here in the darkness I hear my cue. Time to find some solitude. Here where my soul bleeds openly, deep in the heart of sin and you. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you. Bye.